the presentation. I was saying that this encyclical, take the name, is in Italian, left in Italian in all the translation. It's taken from the exhortation 6th of Francis, who invited his friars not to glory in the martyrdom of others before those who wanted to have their 5 Franciscan canonized immediately. There were martyrs in Morocco in 1220, 5 Franciscans, and so they were just asking San Franciscan to be canonized soon, and so Francis write an admonition to all the brethren, and he says that let each one glory in his own martyrdom and not in that of others. So in that admonition, St. Francis says like that: let us look attentively, all the brothers, at the good shepherd who, in order to save his sheep, sustained the passion of the cross. The Lord's sheep have followed him in tribulation and persecution, shame and anger, sickness and temptation, and other such things, and for this they have received eternal life from the Lord. Therefore, it is a great shame for us, servants of God, that the saints have done their works, and we want to receive glory and honor just by telling the story to others. I read to you all this passage where Francis says, all the brothers, addressing to all the Franciscans. And as Giordano da Giano relates in his Chronica, when the martyrdom, life, and legend of the aforementioned friars were reported to Blessed Francis, hearing that in it the praises of him were made, and seeing that the friars boasted of the martyrdom of this, since he was the greatest in despising of himself and disdaining the praise and glory of men, he rejected this legend and forbade its reading, saying, let each one glory in his own martyrdom and not in that of others. And the other encyclical, Laudato Si, is also from the word of Saint Francis. Also took his cue from the example of the Poverello de Assisi, the saint of peace. The Pope is recalling this in the number 2 of this encyclical. And but this data, all we know. Among other things, the encyclical means a circular letter, has been circulating now for more than 2 years. So we can find presentations, summaries, video conferences in YouTube, press review, commentaries by theologians and sociologists, and so on. Also, we probably participated in meetings of the clergy or religious of our diocese on the encyclical and the message. And without a doubt, a rereading in the light of what we have experienced in this time could help us in the light of the war in Ukraine, with its consequences for many areas of the planet, or the earthquake in Turkey, Syria, that involves so many responsibilities, or a pandemic ended but never ended, millions of refugees from one country to another, or from one country to the whole world in many areas of our planet. So we have read before, and we know, and we can see a lot of presentation of this encyclical. But actually, I am driven to this conversation with you by the strong awareness of that this is what we need: fraternity and social friendship. This is the subtitle of the encyclical: fraternity and social friendship in the world and in the community among us as Rosminians. It is also this the secret of the gospel, the good news of God who became a brother and accompanied us, or the one who became supportive, friend, traveling companion, doctor, Counselor, Prince of Peace. This expression of the Messiah, that we find in the Bible become reality through fraternity and social friendship. Personally, visiting the communities of the Institute during last year to greet you, to meet you in the different areas where we are present as Rosminians, meeting people, also the parishes or our collaborators, or savoring also the joy of fraternity, receiving me, of working and praying together, savoring the efforts of so many and recognizing the problems to be faced. Very often I concluded to myself that the need and the response was, is, and will be that of fraternity and social friendship. All brothers, as the Pope says, Fratelli Tutti. So it's a strong conviction for me that the secret of the gospel come to the world, or can arrive to people through us in this way of fraternity, of social friendship. We are called, as always, as Christians, to create the possibilities of community. Truly, the first commitment in the face of resistance, closure, individualism, and selfishness of every kind and of all kind is to create or recreate the possibility of community and mutual help. Also in the community, formation community, or people that they live, community of studies, even there, or a community where there are not open work with people, always the challenge is to create and recreate the possibility of community, to do something very little that give the possibility to recreate community, one with the other together. The Pope is repeating that refrain, from I, or from me to us, from I to us, with regard to the work in which we are working at the moment. For example, sometimes we hear that expression in the community, that father is very good, just leave him to work alone. He's very good in doing everything, but he has difficulty to work with others. Or we can say, okay, that brother is working a lot, all the time he's working, but never pray with us. But anyway, he's working a lot. He does everything. Or in some place we can hear, we don't do any community meetings, because we never do community meeting, because so we have no problems. If we do community meetings, we will have some problems. This meeting now that we have about the encyclical may help us to understand that the problem is not that there are problems or difficulties, but rather that we have to face them together as a community, as in fraternity. The problem or the difficulty is not that there are problems in our lives or around us, but to face them together. And there is a first step that we can all see if we think of our experience of religious life and community life, removing the labels we have put on others. Sometimes we have the tendency as human beings to classify and to put labels, and also labels on the brethren or on other people. We think that we know other people. Okay, we may go to the philosophy even of our founder, no? That he said that it's impossible that we can say we know a person, no, because he is a mystery, every human being, and from our experience we can understand that that is true, and so we have to remove the labels we have put on others. listening to a brother, to a Rosminian, he told me that his inspiration to come to us, to come to the Institute, came from a priest, from a Rosminian. His figure and smile of this father went to celebrate Mass in his parish on Sundays. This father in the Institute was considered a temperament, a critic one, incapable of fraternity, but above all, a face without a smile. So for this, brother was his inspiration, but inside the Institute was not known like that. Remove the labels, overcome them, forgive, give another chance to our brethren, to the people. The encyclical will say it. If I change, everything change around me. That will say the encyclical. The encyclical. If I change, everything changes around me. It depends by my side. And let us begin also among ourselves not to have pyramid, only circles is a type of slogan that we can take from the encyclical. It means to discover or rediscover the church of today. I recommend you in this sense the first meditation of Padre Cantalamessa that was last week to the Holy Father and to he's on in YouTube. No, he's talking about Lent and synodality, and he says that in many period of the church, there was a change of model, and no more pyramid, but only circles. This doesn't take away the fact of hierarchical face of the church, but just to help us brethren in fraternity means rediscovering the church. For us, it will mean to work really as a team in the institute, in the community, or in our work. Taking up some data on the encyclical, again, it is along the lines of the document of human fraternity for world peace and living together, signed in Abu Dhabi in 2019, to recall that God created all human beings equal in rights, duties, and dignity, and called them to live together as brothers and sisters. So it's a great effort of Pope Francis and also of the great Imam in Abu Dhabi. The Pope is underlining that was not just a meeting or to sign down a document, but really was a journey together to that point. And that was a document signed in that moment, but then the development for all the church, for all the Catholic Church, is now this encyclical Fratelli Tutti. The Pope says that the inspiration of the Imam was great for him to write down this encyclical. And we see the structure of the encyclical as a chapter, as we all know, if we have in our hand the encyclical. And so we can see from the analysis of the world situation, the first chapter, the shadows of the closed world, to the proclamation of the gospel of proximity, a stranger on the road, the Good Samaritan, in this chapter, second chapter, and then from there the development in the love world relationship. Three, and again the interrelationship with the world, interculturality beyond the idea of global village. In the past encyclical, there was that idea the world is a global village, is a little village. That now we go behind that idea, talking about interculturality, something a bit more complex, a heart open to the whole world. Wherever I am, in Rome, in Kenya, or in Tanzania, or in England, or in Ireland, my heart open to the whole world. Not only the Rosminian world or our community or our friends, but to all the world, chapter 4. And then some areas, particular areas. So fraternity and politics, fraternity and social dialogue, fraternity and new roots or new way, and fraternity and religion. So we have the 8th chapter of the encyclical. As we see, first is just a sight on the shadows of the world, and then the gospel of proximity, and then there are 2 chapters again on relationship between our faith, between the gospel and the world, and then 4 particular times: politics, social dialogue, new roots, and religions. The structure of the encyclical. Now we may see some highlights of the introduction of the encyclical. The first message, that is the strong message of Saint Francis ever, is every person, every man is my brother. Every person, every neighbor is my brother. This was the great message of all the life of Francis. And Francis arrived to say also that my brother is the sun, my sister is the water, my sister is the death, my brother is the wind. Even all the creation, we are brothers and sisters, Francis said. So is a particular way of love. He who loves the other when he's far from him, as if he were next to him. I mean, this expression of a universal love for Francis is that I love the person near to me like those far to me. It's a new dimension, an open fraternity, as the Pope says in number 1. Every man is my brother, and open, the mostly open that we can fraternity. And the Pope is recalling when Francis, overcoming a lot of difficulties and language, cultural difficulty, decided to go to the crusade without sword, not for confessioning soldiers, but to meet the Sultan. This desire to embrace everyone. Fidelity to the Lord, proportional to love for one's brothers and sisters, avoiding any form of aggression or contention, and also living a humble and fraternal submission, even towards those who did not share their faith. He did not wage dialectical warfare by imposing doctrines, but communicated the love of God precisely in the context of bloody wars between powerful families, while the miserable areas of the suburbs were going. I mean, Francis came from a context of Assisi of eternal war between families for money. Which family will have the tower or the palace bigger in Assisi? So he came from an experience of war. The result was not a man of war, was not a Putin, was not one oppressing the other. The result was a man that received true peace within himself. He freed himself from any desire to dominate others. He made himself one of the last. He tried to live in harmony with everyone. So we can see St. Francis eager to embrace everyone. Fidelity to the Lord proportional to love for one's brothers and sisters. So he became submitted also towards those who did not share their faith when he went to the Sultan. He didn't go there to impose, but with dialogue. Of course, this was worked by the grace in his heart. He opened his heart to others, and so God works through him. The universal dimension of fraternal love. Very nice, this photo. The Pope is embracing the only person that survived after Fukushima disaster in Japan. When he went, he met him. So the universal dimension of fraternal love, dialogue with all people of goodwill. So the Pope is talking here about universal dimension of fraternal love, openness to every person. A new dream of fraternity and social friendship that is not limited to words. Dreams are built together as a whole humanity, as wayfarers made of the same human flesh, as children of the same land that hosts us all. To this introduction, all with the flavor of the gospel, as the Pope says, we understand that salvation for all humanity lies there, beyond any faith or religion. Is not the point of that in front there is the faith of religion. In front is fraternity, where you can see our faith or our religion. We also recognize a Rosminian flavor, not only gospel flavor, and that's correct. No, if our charism is totally in the gospel, so we recognize also a Rosminian flavor, and it can only be so. It is like the foundation of the charism of charity. I was reflecting that if at the basis of our decision as Rosminian, the elective state, to be in contemplation, there is the awareness of being called to holiness, all of us, so at the base of our work, the human state, there is the awareness that love is universal, and that begin from my neighbor, from home, by his nature. I mean, is universal because is reached out towards any people, even the person met by chance, as wrote Pope Benedict in Deus Caritas Est, commenting the Good Samaritan. The Samaritan went out to his business and he found that man lying on the road and he helped him. He recognized there the call of the Lord to, to do a work of charity. On the other hand, Pope Francis emphasized that in the pandemic, the inability to act together has become evident. A fragmentation that has made it more difficult to solve the problems that affect us all. And it is not a question of perfecting mechanism, but of dreaming humanity together. Dreaming humanity together, says the Pope. The pandemic gave us a hint of the inability to act together. So we need something new. From where we understand how alone it is impossible. We will not go beyond the humanitarianism of some. I mean, we'll have only some people in the world that are more humanitarian than others, but will not go really to help each other strongly for all the mankind. In the second chapter, the Pope will develop the shadows of a closer world. But here he's saying only that the experience of the pandemic, because he was writing and publishing the encyclical during the pandemic. Now, some observation and questions. First, no matter where I am, whether in a parish, in a hospital, or in a house of formation or study, the important thing is the question I have in my heart towards universal fraternity. The founder says in one of the common rules, embraces in the Lord all people and all nations. So the question is, if I have in my heart openness towards universal fraternity, if there are no limitation of any sort, if there is this openness to every person. And a question also, what does this mean of dreaming together? It also returns a lot in the journey of the synod. The Lord gives what we seek. If I'm seeking unity, the Lord will give unity. If we are seeking for fraternity, the Lord will give fraternity. So we want to dream together. Perhaps it corresponds to what Rosmini says about to desire to be just, desire to do the will of God. So we will say probably this dream together correspond to desiring together, to desire together, desire to live in a new world of fraternity and peace. In Francis' yearning for fraternity, we think uh, uh, of the little flowers as a bad translation, the Fioretti of Saint Francis, this little story, no, of Francis. There is are full of fraternity, the normal life of Saint Francis, and so we can see the normal life of Antonio Rosmini, this yearning for friendship. Witness are all those letters, the desire for universal love of all the saints, not only Antonio Rosmini, even those that are more retired in the convent, like Thérèse of Lisieux or Thérèse Benedicta of the Cross. But we can see in these saints always this desire, yearning for friendship, for fraternity. If I begin to see in all my neighbors a brother and sister and not an enemy, my perception and my way of seeing change. But above all, on practical level, my possibility of exercising fraternity become more mature. Also, my ministry, the work in which I serve, acquires an additional soul, something more in humanity that the Lord can use and transform. I am, for example, in a rich parish, and I like to help the poor, but I say, oh, this is only a rich parish. But if I start to see the parishioners as brothers and sisters, something will change. They may take to me or me to the poor, to the people that really need, and there will be the possibility to exercise fraternity. This is an example of the experience that all we have done probably and we can do. And I see in the Constitution that the supreme or the greatest or highest form of temporal charity is to foster peace and reconciliation, the happy conclusion of discord and strife, as Rosmini writes in the Constitution on the direction of temporal charity. We should do like many community we see around us. Here in Rome, we see community of Sant'Egidio. What they do, they start to foster reconciliation and peace in all the world. Now they're very well known into the world, but from where they start? They started just from giving class to the poor area, to the children here in Rome, 40 or 50 years ago. So we should do as the missionaries of charity, as do all those who go in search of brothers, who favor reconciliation and peace. I mean, there is in the DNA of the vocation to our carians, there is this foster reconciliation and peace. For us, it is God who is responsible to specify where I will work, the will of God, but also depends on our heart, on how we are trained or prepared with a believing heart. I mean, it's not just what superiors will tell us, but also how we work in that parish or in that house or with our community. So, dear brothers, these are now my reflection on the introduction of the encyclical. I would like now, if you like, we have 5 minutes, 7 minutes to have some question, or if you like, clarification or comments from your part or contribution. It is very easy, just to press on the red microphone that we have there and then speak. Feel free to say a word. I hope that someone was that was clear or was off my microphone. No, I think that you may have followed what I was saying.
I think, Father Marco, thank you very much for organizing this session. Really, very, very useful for all of us to really reflect on the encyclical again. And surely it's very much talking about ourselves, our life here in communities, in parishes, wherever we are. And also really talking about what Antonio Rosmini is talking about, the universal love, and definitely it's how important it is for us to continue reflecting on and this encyclical, wherever maybe, whatever we do. Actually, I think the coming days, these sessions will give us much more deeper understanding of how Pope Francis wants us to take in the church, really. So a very, very, very fruitful time, really. Thank you for organizing it, doing it.
Thank you, Father Robin. Indeed, we can see all the ministry of the Holy Father in this line, even in 2015, 16, when he was trying to meet together all the chief of religions, to say we cannot do violence and think to be good religious, of any religion. And now on that of fraternity, especially we see in the encyclical our contact with people, but sometimes we think that the problems are there in Iraq or in Egypt or far away from us. That's not true, because in our roads here in Rome and in any city, we have all the people together, all the religion together, and no need now, like Francis, to go to the Sultan. Now we have in our road people that are from different beliefs and cultures, and so fraternity becomes more and more important for us, even in the little parishes or wherever we are out in our provinces.
Thank you.
So probably for this first time we can have a conclusion here, and I suggest you to take the prayer that we have at the end of the encyclical, and with two prayers. The Pope put a prayer to the Creator, and then an ecumenical prayer. So we take today the first of these two prayers to finish our meeting, and we will meet again next Tuesday at the same hour with the English version. Then there will be now following the Italian meeting on the encyclical. So we can have now the little video and we can follow the prayer together also. The little video with the prayer, yes. I like to say thank you.
Preghiera del Creatore. Signore e Padre dell'umanità, che hai creato tutti gli esseri umani con la stessa dignità, infondi nei nostri cuori uno spirito fraterno. Ispiraci il sogno di un nuovo incontro, di dialogo, di giustizia e di pace. Stimolaci a creare società più sane e un mondo più degno, senza fame, senza povertà, senza violenza, senza guerre. Il nostro cuore si apra a tutti i popoli e le nazioni della terra, per riconoscere il bene e la bellezza che hai seminato in ciascuno di essi, per stringere legami di unità, di progetti comuni, di speranze condivise. Amen.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Marco.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.